Hello Leo, welcome to your April 2017 forecast. Thank you for joining me. This is for Leo Sun sign, Leo Rising and Leo Moon. I'm going to give you a general overview of this month because we've got 4 planets going retrograde, and then I'm going to go into the dates after that. So we have Venus still retrograde, and that's in your 9th house. So you've been thinking about your long-term goals, you know, how you feel about your long-term goals. Maybe you've been feeling like, have I travelled enough? Am I educated enough? Do I feel like I'm educated enough to get to where I want to be? Maybe you've been considering higher learning, but just kind of you've been projecting yourself out into the future, I feel, and wondering about your future, wondering about your long-term plans, and how well they serve you. You know, there might be some of you who very much are stepping up in your role as parent, as teacher, and this might be at the forefront of your life at the moment. Maybe if you're a new parent, you know, there might be a lot of energy focused there in teaching your child, that kind of thing. So we've still got Venus retrograde there, and she goes into Pisces, into your 8th house. So Venus going into Pisces and into this 8th house, you know, especially because she's close to Chiron, there can be some healing there to do with the past, to do with any areas where maybe there have been issues of like power imbalances or issues around intimacy and anything that's shared, you know. There might be some healing to be done around there, and some things might be put right for you. It could be even as well with Venus going into the 8th house that you receive some money quite unexpectedly, some sort of like financial gain that comes along. That's a possibility. But at the same time, there's an opportunity to heal any emotional wounding or psychological wounding that's been going on. There's a nice opportunity to heal that, especially with it being in Pisces, which is a very loving kind of unifying sign. So this is that. So we've got Venus retrograde, and then we've also got Saturn going retrograde, and that's in Sagittarius, and that's on the 5th of April. Saturn's in your 5th house. And so Saturn here it's a bit of a funny one because, you know, Saturn is about grounding and foundations, and it can be about, you know, obligations, restrictions, limits, and building some sort of structure. You could be being asked here to look at the things you love doing and to consider whether you could take them seriously, to bring what you love into what you do in the world. So there's some review here in terms of your hobbies, your creativity, the things you love doing. Is there something that you do that you could take seriously and that you could make into some sort of a career? Or if you're a parent, maybe you're looking at the way that you discipline your child, the kind of parental figure that you are, and reassessing how you want to parent your child. You know, I feel for those of you who have children, this has been a real area of focus. Your kids really, not that they aren't usually, but there's been a particularly strong, there's been a strong desire to be the right kind of teacher and the right kind of example for them. So this is something that you might be experiencing with Saturn going retrograde there. Mercury also goes retrograde this month, and this is in Taurus in your 10th house, and she goes retrograde on the 9th of April until May the 3rd, and she goes into Aries, into your 9th house for a little while. He goes into Aries in your 9th house for a little while, and then comes back into Taurus. So you're rethinking what you do in the world. You're rethinking your position. You're rethinking your career. Does it suit you? Now this is interesting because if you are thinking of turning a hobby or something you're passionate about into a career, then this could be the reason why you're rethinking things to do with what you do in the world. It could even be that you're thinking of doing something in terms of like child minding or something to do with children. Maybe something like that is coming up and you're thinking, okay, well maybe I want to actually get involved with like teaching kids or something, because there's so much energy going on in these teaching and areas of your life, the teaching area and also the area that's to do with children. and creativity. So you'll be thinking these things, and you know, the usual with Mercury retrograde, you know, try not to sign anything, try not to, if you make travel plans, give yourself plenty of time to arrive, you know, kind of expect little things to happen, and glitches in communication and stuff like that. And we've also got Pluto on April the 20th going retrograde in Capricorn. And Pluto for you is in your 6th house of work and day-to-day routine and health habits. So Pluto going retrograde here, once again, there's a transformation, because this retrograde is going to last for quite some time. So there's a transformation here in terms of your health habits, in terms of your day-to-day routine, in terms of your work. If you are a parent, maybe you're looking at transforming the structure of your home and your day-to-day routine for the benefit of your children, and to make yourself more available to your children. If not, then it can be that you're looking at how can I, you know, what can I do to support my health? Are there some big changes that need to be made? Do I need to be completely honest with myself? In terms of your work, there's something that needs to be, that could be looked at to make sure that you're getting the most of what you want out of your work. You know, it's about self-empowerment. So what are you doing to be self-empowered, to own your power in terms of your day-to-day habits, in terms of your work, and that kind of thing? You know, and how does it support your long-term goals? So without further ado, sorry about that, without further ado, we'll get into the dates. I just want to say first, which I've been saying to everybody actually this month is about spring cleaning. It is forward movement. There is forward movement, and the work we do at the moment is so valuable, because if we get to the truth of what we want, then it's so much easier to get what we want out of life. So we're really being asked to take back our power, to become self-empowered. You know, any blocks that you're experiencing right now in relation to anything, it's likely to be because you need to look deeper at what's going on. You know, if you're trying to push forward on something and it's not working, then maybe that thing is not meant for you. Or maybe you just need to look at how you're doing it. So it's a time to reassess and get real on what it is you want for your future, for your career, and are you willing to take your creativity more seriously? Is that something you'd consider doing? So it's a real spring cleaning for us at the moment. So on the 3rd is when Venus goes retrograde, and she goes retrograde into Pisces, into that 8th house. So like I said, this could be some healing to be done here, some forgiveness, something to look at in terms of, it could be that somebody important, or somebody who was once important to you, comes back into your life, and there could be some resolution and putting something to bed in terms of that. There's also a chance, like I said, for financial gain that comes quite unexpectedly. There's some real healing energy to be had in this area of your life in terms of the intimate one-on-ones, you know, and if any shared resources, anything to do with that. Perhaps if there was an inheritance that wasn't divided correctly, you might find that suddenly you receive money that was owed to you from that. Or perhaps there's some forgiveness, you know, some sort of resolution, or something to do with inheritances or shared resources in some sort of way. And so this is what we go into the month with, Venus retrograding here. And then on the 5th, Saturn goes retrograde in Sagittarius, in that 5th house. So this is what I spoke about. So perhaps taking your creativity more seriously, perhaps looking at the way that you parent, those kinds of things, those kinds of issues might start to come up now. On the 6th, we've got Mars in Taurus trying Pluto in Capricorn, and Mars is in your 10th house, and there's been a lot of energy directed towards your career and what you do out there in the world. And it's trining Pluto in your 6th house, so you're being supported. You're being supported by the day-to-day, and you're feeling quite powerful on this day. So this is quite a nice day. You might get some insight as to what you can do, maybe what you can do on a practical day-to-day level that will help you get ahead in the world. So that might be quite supportive for you. On the 8th, we have Mercury turning retrograde. So I spoke about this too. So Mercury's turning retrograde out of that 10th house, or it's starting in that 10th house, and you're thinking about career. So maybe that support that you felt on the 6th, that kind of inspiration maybe to transform something that you felt on the 6th, has caused you to start thinking now about your career, about what you do in the world, about how it serves you. And so Mercury's turning direct on this day, and it's going to go into the 9th house, into Aries, as I discussed earlier. Then on the 9th we've got the Sun, and that's in your 9th house. And the Sun is in Aries, and it's squaring off with Pluto. So this is now perhaps there's something that's pulling you away from, say maybe if you're making travel plans, or you know, there's somewhere you want to go, there's somewhere you want to get to, or even plans for higher education. Something here is, there's a bit of a power struggle going on here. Maybe something to do with your health, something to do with your day-to-day routine is affecting, perhaps your health is affecting how far you can travel. Perhaps you need to take your health into consideration in terms of, like, if you're planning to go somewhere, maybe how much energy you're going to have, you know. So there's something going on here between your long-range plans, between kind of higher education and travel, and what goals you have set for yourself. And the 6th house, so you know, your day-to-day, your work, your routine, your habits. What's going on here? Are you leaking energy somehow? Maybe this is what it's showing you. Are you leaking energy unnecessarily, by maybe not having a proper routine, maybe not having that proper structure in place, and maybe that's affecting your plans for the future. Maybe your health is affecting what you see yourself doing in the future. So maybe there's something to be looked at there and then later transformed. On the 11th we've got a full moon, and that's in Libra, in your 3rd house. And this full moon is really nice because it's conjuncting Jupiter, so it's really generous. You're probably going to be communicating quite on an emotional level, you know, feelings of warmth and feelings of love and support. You might be getting people telling you how much they love you and how much they want to support your plans for the future. And you might be finding that actually, that those around you, you know, even brothers and sisters and neighbours and, you know, people in close proximity, maybe giving you support and saying, hey, you know, we support your dreams and we understand what it is you want to do. And there might be a really nice feeling of like generosity and harmony going on there. On the 14th, we've got the Sun conjunct Uranus, and that's in Aries, that's in that 9th house. And this speaks to me of you wanting to, it's almost like one of those days where you just want to get out there. And I feel like you want to, if there was a day where you could just go to the airport and book the first flight that you come across, just to get out there, this would be it. So you're feeling quite adventurous on this day. You're feeling like you want to just break free, you want to experience something new, you want to learn more, you want to grow, you want to just reach out and try new things and different things. So this could be a really nice day to do it. You've got the energy for it, certainly. Right, and on the 15th, we've got Venus turning direct in your 8th house of Pisces. So there's been some healing, there's been some looking at how you feel about the things you value, and you've been looking at them quite deeply, quite intensely. You know, there might have been some healing with an intimate other, whether they be from your past or whether they're in your present. But now's the time for you to move forward, feeling healed, with a greater sense of compassion for yourself, and feeling like things are a bit more balanced and a bit more fair. So that's really positive. On the 19th, we've got the Sun now moving out of your 9th house, and it's entering Taurus in your 10th house. You're going to be quite focused and driven to succeed, to get ahead, and to do it on a practical level. And that's very supported by Mars being there as well. So there's going to be a lot of ego energy, a lot of exertion put towards what you do in the world, what you put out there. So it's very supportive energy in terms of career and that type of thing. On the 20th, we have Pluto going retrograde in Capricorn, which I told you about. So this is to do with transforming something to do with your day-to-day routine, your health habits, your what you do as a job, services you offer, that kind of thing. So something to look at there. On the 24th, sorry, also on the 20th, retrograde Mercury enters Aries. So it goes into your 9th house. So where you were you're thinking about things to do with your career. Now you're rethinking and mulling over things to do with your long range plans, to do with travel, to do with higher learning. And you're starting to rethink things in this area and to reassess and perhaps research. Perhaps you're doing research, but maybe you want to, in order to get ahead, you feel like you need some more education. Or so maybe you're starting to research, where could you get that from? Where's the best place to go? It's a really good time for that. If you're thinking about moving abroad or traveling, do your research on where you're going. And really get as much information, as much knowledge as you can in those areas. If you're not doing either of those, and this is just a case of, you projecting out into the future and thinking about your long range goals, really good time to think about how you can implement those things and do research in those terms. On the 24th, we've got Mercury in Aries trining Saturn in Sagittarius. So Mercury's there in your 9th house. Like we said, you're rethinking things to do with this area of life. And it's trining Saturn in your 5th house. So maybe there's like an element of, I feel like you're getting an insight of some sort as to how you could implement things that are important to you, things that are close to your heart, into your future. Whether it be to do with creativity or something or anything like that. But it's about how can I make sure that this future I'm building, whether it's about moving abroad or traveling or going to or higher education or none of those, but you're thinking like, how can I realistically make this something that's fulfilling? How can I make sure my future plans are fulfilling? So there might be somebody, it might be that somebody assists you in this area, somebody with power, somebody with authority gives you some assistance, and that takes a bit of a weight off and a bit of a burden off of your shoulders. On the 26th, we've got a new moon, and this is in Taurus in that 10th house. So this is a fresh start in terms of your career, an emotional fresh start. You're feeling like you want to come at things anew. And this is nice because, it's in Taurus, so it's grounded and it's practical. So this is a really good time to, if you've had a change of heart about where you're going in terms of what you do in the world, then this is going to be a really nice time for you to kind of think about how you're going to implement that kind of plan that you've got. New moons are great for starting new projects. Obviously, Mercury is going direct, is retrograde still. If I'm right, yes, Mercury is retrograde still. So you've got to put thought into it, obviously, and make sure you know the details of everything. But you're feeling a renewed sense of, I feel, emotional optimism as to where you're going. On the 28th, Venus re-enters Aries, so she goes back into that 9th house. So once again, it's about what's emotionally fulfilling for you. What do you desire for your future? Maybe getting excited about traveling, getting excited now about the higher learning, about the moves that you're planning to make. Now you've done a lot of reviewing, you're starting to kind of feel a bit more sure of yourself with that new moon in the 10th house, with Venus going direct now into the 9th house. You're starting to get a little bit more of an idea of where you're going and starting to feel a bit more secure now and starting to get excited about, okay, what's going to happen, especially with the sun there as well. So we end off on quite a nice note for you, Leo, and it's quite positive. There is spring cleaning to be done, there are things to consider, but all in all, it's all moving you to a positive direction where you're really going to be able to make some progress and feel a little bit more secure in your convictions. So thank you for listening, Leo. I hope you enjoyed your reading. If you are interested in an extension of this reading, I'm doing tarot readings and they are on Vimeo videos. There's a link below. This is just a little extension of that, just to give you more insight into this month. They're £2 per reading. If you'd like to purchase one, feel free to go ahead. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful month, Leo, and thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.